ever struggled to set the right atmosphere in your D&D sessions? Do you want an unforgettable game but keep kind of falling short a little bit? I've got the answer, and it is so simple. Music. Music can transform a good game into an unforgettable adventure. Stick around and I'll show you exactly how to use music in your game to immerse players like never before. Music has the power to transport us, to build tension, and to evoke emotion. All the things that we want in a great D&D session. By adding the right soundtrack to your game, you can turn a simple dungeon crawl into a heart-pounding quest, or transform a quiet tavern into a warm and lively refuge. In this video, we'll explore how to use music to create immersive environments, enhance storytelling, and take your game to the next level. Whether you're a seasoned dungeon master or just starting out, this video is for you. First, here's what you'll need to get started. It's not much. A music streaming service like Spotify, Apple Music, or YouTube. Playlists tailored to different moods, combat, exploration, roleplay, etc. And optionally, a sound effects app or ambient sound platform like Sirenscape or Monument Studios' new Fantasy Plus. And, of course, a basic understanding of the scenes and emotions you want to evoke during your game. Like I said, there's not much to it, so let's go ahead and dive into the details. Now, let's walk through how to choose the perfect music for your game. Step 1. Match the music to the scene. There will obviously be a lot of scenes in your D&D game. You don't have to choose music for every individual thing you think may happen, but get some tracks that generally fit the vibes that you're going for. And if one has to play on a loop for a few minutes, it's not the end of the world. For combat, you're going to want to go with fast-paced, high-energy tracks. Think drums, strings, or epic orchestral pieces. Because I'm a massive Skyrim nerd, I've used a lot of the tracks from the game in my home games. For combat, I like to use things like Tooth and Claw. Never fails to kind of get that adrenaline pumping. For exploration, try ambient or atmospheric music that sets the tone without overpowering the player's dialogue. You're going to want to let the players be able to speak. You're going to want all of your descriptions to come through, but you're definitely going to want something gentle underneath of it. Again, with the Skyrim references, I like to use things like Ancient Stones, From Past to Present, and Unbroken Road. But recently, I've been enjoying a lot of the stuff that Monument Studios has put out with their Fantasy Plus, like the track that you're listening to, New Lands. Step 2, use genres to set the mood. You're going to want to use things like classical or orchestral music for epic quests. Maybe for something like a tavern scene that's a little more subdued, a little bit different vibe, use some Celtic or folk music. And for things like dungeons, you're going to want that dark ambient or horror soundtracks. Maybe even pull from video games like Dark Souls. You really want those tense moments to be brought forward as the players are trekking through your dungeons, or into the swamp, or through the lair of the final BBEG. And if you're finding this helpful, enjoyable, or entertaining in general, give me some bardic inspiration by hitting that like button and subscribing so you hear the trumpet blow every time the bard comes to the stage. Finally, step 3. Pay attention to tempo and volume. The tempo should match the urgency of the scene. Keep it soft for dialogue-heavy moments and intense for action sequences. You're not gonna want something intense and heavy playing while the characters are just talking to the random barkeep in the small, quiet mountain village. And you're also not gonna want gentle ambient nature noises while you're in the midst of a battle with a powerful demon. Also, ensure that the volume is loud enough to be heard, but doesn't drown out the players or the DM. I've had a lot of trouble with this on my current stream, Looking for Legends, where we've been trying to balance the music and the sound quality back and forth, and I think we've gotten to a pretty good place with it. But online is a lot different than in person. We might have a preset volume recorded for each audio that we use in our repertoire on the stream, but when you just hit play on a playlist, things can go from very quiet to very loud to anywhere in between very quickly. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that and feeling out like the vibes in the room. A lot of times in-person games I use a speaker, but sometimes I have to keep my phone by me and turn it up or down depending on the scene and depending in general on like the noise level in the room. So just make sure you keep an eye on that and keep the tempo, the vibes, and the volume all kind of relevant to what's happening. Here's how it looks in action. In this scene, the party is talking to a spectral figure that seemingly kidnapped a child from the caravan they're traveling in, but then they're ambushed by a group from outside. Notice the music as it changes from a mysterious track under the dialogue to a fast-paced, high-energy track for the ensuing combat.
As a member of the Death Hunters, I sentence you to death. Final death.
Roll to hit.
Okay, hang on. I need that section. +4 puts me at a 16.
Okay. You swing, knowing that you will hit your mark. But as your blade should make purchase, the being evaporates and reassembles itself. Not me, them. Go outside if you can. Survive, reverse it, evacuate. Get them to safety. And the figure disappears.
Yeah, Stark's just going to look outside the door. What the hell is he talking about?
As you look outside, you see a figure on the roof of the building just ahead of you. And as... Sorry, go ahead.
So I see this figure. Everyone, there's a person on the roof adjacent to where we are. Not sure if we're saving them, hurting them. I'm very confused by what the nothing had said.
I would like everyone to roll initiative. I think it went off pretty much without a hitch, and honestly, it didn't require a lot of effort, but it made a world of difference for the scene. Here's some tips to make that music integration even smoother. Number 1, curate the playlist in advance. Like, organize tracks by theme or scene so that you can quickly switch during the session. This might just be as simple as like combat, exploration, and social encounters. Or it might be as complex as pirate-themed nautical combat or cavern dungeon illithid lair soundtrack. No matter how intricate you want to get with this, just make sure that there is a vibe and that you're adding tracks that add to that vibe. 2, time your music. If you're able to anticipate some major moments or plot points that you want to hit in your game, some things that you know almost for a fact will happen, have some tracks queued up that you know will absolutely embody what's happening in that scenario. I think this works best with one-shots, as they're a little easier to control and you have a little bit more knowledge about what's going to happen. Players don't tend to stray quite as far from the main plot in a one-shot as they do in longer form campaigns. I have been saved more than once by exactly this idea. In one-shots like Grimhaven that focus on investigation and exploration, I was sure that the players were going to get to a few points, so I had a couple of tracks queued up that I knew would embody the spirit of these locales. But I've also been on the other side of it, kind of queuing up a random YouTube playlist and it not being at all what I wanted, leaving me scrambling mid-game trying to find something to fit the ambiance. All of these little tips to kind of just say a little prep goes a long way into making sure that your music flows seamlessly with your gameplay. But what about when things don't go seamlessly? What about when they go off the rails and entirely against your plans. Here's how to handle a few common music-related problems. When you first try to integrate music into your game, you're gonna deal with some volume issues. If the music's too loud, it overwhelms the players. If the music's too quiet, it doesn't really do much. So adjust that volume again so it complements the scene. I had a session in campaign 1 of Looking for Legends where the music was far too loud, and I didn't realize it because I was consumed with trying to get my descriptions across and all of the other things that DMs have on their plate. The players were all in the chat saying, the music's too loud, can we adjust it, can we get a volume change? And I didn't even realize until probably 10 minutes after they started saying those things that it was happening. One of the things that I've done to remedy this is I turned over almost all of my live music mixing in session to Caden, who has graciously accepted the role and mans my music for me. We've gotten together and picked out various tracks that we think work for different themes and scenes, and to take it off my plate, he's gone ahead and labeled them in StreamYard, the platform that we use, so that as we're going about the game, he can pick up on those cues and begin to change the music for me and adjust per track how loud or soft the music needs to be. So maybe this will work for your games. You curate the playlists or choose a few tracks that you know are going to be featured in the game, and then hand it over to someone and say, hey, I can't man this and everything else in the game. Would you be able to just adjust the volume as necessary? It's a quick fix and something that might take your players from, I don't know if I want to keep using music, to I can't wait to hear more. What about track interruptions? If you're using something like YouTube or Pandora or even Spotify, you're gonna get ads or sudden shifts in tone depending on the playlist and how it's being utilized. You can sometimes avoid these things by switching over to an ad-free playlist on YouTube or looping some ambient tracks on Spotify. Because yeah, loops are a thing, they work, and not every 5 minutes has to have a change in music. If you're in a scene for 30 to 40 minutes, having 1, maybe 2 songs that loop is a good thing, kind of keeping coherency throughout. And finally, keep in mind your players' preferences. Not everyone loves background music. It can be overstimulating to some people. I know for a fact that there are people who get very overwhelmed as background music begins to play. They have a hard time sorting out noises, background noise to people talking, and so it can be a very challenging experience for them to play in a game with background music. So talk to your tables and make sure that background music is going to be something that helps and enhances rather than distracts. Most every table that I've DM'd for have really enjoyed background music, and it's made an immersive experience for everyone involved. But I do understand that that is not for everyone. There is no one-size-fits-all to D&D, so do what's best for your table. And if you can all agree that background music is amazing, go for it, have a blast. But maybe it's not for you and your table, and that's okay too. If it is for you and your table, music really can be an absolute game changer in D&D. By choosing the right tracks, timing them with your scenes, and curating thoughtful playlists, you can turn your sessions into unforgettable, immersive experiences. Start small, maybe with 1 playlist for your next game, and watch how your players respond. Trust me, once you see how it transforms your game, you'll wonder how you ever played without it. Now it's your turn. Try using music in your next D&D session and let me know how it goes in the comments. Or maybe you have a favorite soundtrack or a go-to playlist. Go ahead and share that below too. I'd love to hear your recommendations. I'll have a few of my own there as well. And if you're ready for more tips to level up your session, check out my other videos on storytelling, world building, and running epic campaigns. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications so you never miss one of my videos. Till next time, guys. Gotta roll.